Hello and welcome to Witness. I'm Raggy Omar. Keeping house and home together can be hard enough even under the best of circumstances. But when you are only 18 years old and have two younger siblings to look after, it's very tough indeed. Leslie Munoz does just that in a small American town on the Mexican border. But this is all in the knowledge that her parents are alive and well, but forced to live in Mexico on the other side of that border. The USA has been stepping up its deportation of illegal immigrants, showing little sympathy for families that are split apart by this policy. For Leslie and her family, the fact that the three children were born in the US and have citizenship there has not helped keep them all together in their family home of 20 years. Family Torn Apart by filmmaker John Goheen lets us hear Leslie's story in her own heartfelt words. It takes us right into the lives of this close family who are struggling to stay together across two countries.
This is a big day at school for my sister Adilene.
I have to do her hair for picture day, and my mom would normally, do her like a really strange hairdo or whatever.
But my mom isn't around, neither is my dad. They've been gone for more than a year and a half, and ever since, it's been up to me to hold things together in a two-room apartment in the back of the house where I grew up.
Here's our kitchen. It's really small, and this is the part where me and my sister sleep, because my brother sleeps in the other room, just to give him his own space.
This house was my dad's pride and joy. It's in the Spring Valley neighborhood of San Diego, California.
My dad always kept it green, so it was pretty nice, but we don't maintain it anymore like he used to do it. It's not green like he would want it to be.
To me, this house is what America is all about. Working hard, improving yourself, making life better for you and your family. That's what my mom and dad were doing when they bought this place. I'm kind of glad they can't see what's happened to it.
He would see all the work that he did, went down the drain.
This is my family. The Munoz family. I'm Leslie, and I'm 18 years old. That's my brother Marcos. He's 15. Adilene is the baby of the family. She's 10. My mom and dad are Abel and Zulma. They're great parents, and we've always done everything together. My mom and dad are originally from Mexico, but about 20 years ago, they got a temporary permit to live in the U.S.
My parents came into the U.S. Because before me they had another child, and he was diagnosed with leukemia. And in Mexico, they couldn't find what was wrong with him. They just said that he was just sick.
My older brother Abel died, and my mom and dad found out they were expecting another child, me. What if I was sick? Could my parents find good health care for me in Mexico? So after their permit expired, they stayed, illegally. After me, came my brother and sister. We were all born in the US, which makes us American citizens. My parents worked hard in America. Dad became an electrician. Mom did volunteer work at school. I was an honor student. We were living the American dream, but in one day, it was gone.
On February 22nd of 2007, like around 6 to 7:30, immigration agents came into our home and took both of our parents.
The whole nightmare started when my parents decided to go before an immigration judge and appeal for legal residency.
The day that we left the courthouse, we and Marcos had to, testify, I guess, about our situation, and we came out crying because that day was when the judge told us that it was denied.
My family isn't the only one that has had their lives turned upside down by our own government.
This is a corner rally. It's a peaceful protest that includes families, because we know that those who are most affected by immigration raids are families. And so this is a way to say we're not going to stand for that. What we see is when an ICE raid takes place, usually those who are being targeted are the parents who maybe had an immigration case at one point, filed the case in the courts and lost their case. What this then begins to create is a large societal separation where children are left behind and their parents are deported to their home countries.
My parents were forcibly evicted from the United States, leaving me and my siblings to take care of ourselves and try to hold on to our house. The judge told my dad that our house was worth a lot of money, and if he sold it, we could live well in Mexico. But I am an American citizen, so are my brother and my sister. This is our country, and we don't want to leave, and my parents don't want us to miss out on the opportunities we're entitled to as Americans. So we rented out our home and moved into the little apartment in the back of the house my dad had previously built. And it's been a struggle for me ever since, to try and keep from losing our home.
And if there wasn't for this small room, I think, we'd be living in Tijuana, or because I couldn't even afford an apartment, I don't know where we would be living at. So I'm really thankful that we have this. At least we have something,
This is where my parents live now, Tijuana, Mexico. It's just across the border from San Diego. But life couldn't be more different for my mom and dad.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
In Mexico, my dad can't make anything close to the money he was making in the US. So he's had to look for ways to make money any way he can. Marcos helps out whenever he visits my parents.
Well, every time that my dad brings wire out of from his work, leftover wire, so we can just take the copper out and sell it. It takes me like 2 or 3 days just to get a couple of dollars.
This is a pretty strange way for a family to live. Every weekend we come to Tijuana to visit our parents, and we see how they struggle to make a living. When they first came back to Mexico, they had to sell their wedding rings just to feed themselves. One of the ways my parents make money is selling food out of their kitchen.
We make them the chips with cheese, so then when people want some, we just give them some nachos.
My mom is a great cook, and everything she sells helps a little.
25.
Since being deported, my parents have had to be pretty creative to get by.
My parents started also selling old clothes that we used to have that doesn't fit us no more, and like once a week or twice a week she puts it on sale.
The little money we bring in is barely enough to support my parents, and of course there isn't enough to help out with all the bills associated with our house in Spring Valley. We have tenants now, but the lease is up in a few months, and I'm not sure they'll stay.
I'm just gonna go here to see if they're hiring.
I was 3 months from graduating when I had to drop out of school so I could work more. That broke my parents' hearts because education is so important to them.
Excuse me, are you guys hiring right now? Okay, thank you.
I would be the first one in my family to graduate, and it was a dream of my parents to see me do that.
Well, I was actually really embarrassed, to admit that I didn't get to graduate. People think I did, and, I say yes because I'm actually really, really embarrassed. If my teachers were to know, I think they would be disappointed.
Because I'm the oldest, I've had to be both mom and dad for my brother and sister.
I didn't think I was going to be a mom at 18. And with 2 grown kids already.
I've had help from relatives and government programs. This part I think is so stupid. Before my parents were deported, we were never on any kind of welfare. By getting rid of my parents, the government made us dependent on them.
Bring your chin down just a little more.
We didn't even have the money to pay for the dinner school pictures. She was really upset when I told her she wouldn't have a class picture this year.
All right, big smile.
But someone helped us out with the money, so she's pretty happy today.
Big smile, and you are done.
When we stayed with my parents, it's hard to imagine that once we all lived together in a big house where we each had our own room. We took a lot of things for granted. When my parents left Mexico, I'm sure they never expected having to live like this again.
When I go to the USA, I have 22 years. And I come back to Mexico, I have 42 years. It's a lot of different.
Seeing how we used to be a year and a half ago and seeing how we are now, I think it's unfair, and hopefully it doesn't happen to anybody else. And I do cry, and I cry by myself, and because I try to be the strong one. I try to be the one that, you know, doesn't cry in front of my brother, my sister, or even my mom. But I do cry by myself sometimes when I really need my mom.
Te damos las gracias por la vida que nos has dado y sobre todo.
We've all shed a lot of tears, and we've prayed to be reunited as a real family back in the house in Spring Valley. We're still waiting for our prayers to be answered.
Join me after the break as Leslie and her siblings visit their parents and yearn for a time when they can be together again.